Most people are not ignored because they have nothing to say, but because they never learned the one skill that makes others want to listen. I have watched men and women talk themselves breathless, raising their voice, sharpening their arguments, polishing their sentences, only to discover that the person in front of them has drifted away in thought. It is a painful moment, one every one of us has felt. You speak, but your words do not land. You try again, but nothing changes. We grow up believing that being heard means talking more, talking louder, or talking smarter. Yet the harder we try to push our words forward, the faster they slip past people's attention. You may have seen it happen in your own life. You offer an idea in a meeting, an idea you know has value, and the room goes quiet. Not hostile, just indifferent. A moment later, someone else rephrases your exact thought, and suddenly everyone pays attention. You sit there wondering why your voice vanished into the air while theirs took root. Or perhaps at home, you tried to explain what you felt, something that mattered deeply to you. But as you speak, you notice your partner's eyes grow distant, their posture tighten. Instead of understanding, a wall rises between you. You walk away thinking, how can I be so invisible in my own life? And with friends, the same pattern may appear. You talk and talk, hoping someone will pick up your idea, respond, or show interest. But hours later, you realize no one followed up, and not a single detail you shared remained in anyone's memory. These moments are not small. They shape how respected we feel, how confident we become, and how fully we show up in our relationships. When people do not listen, opportunities at work begin to slip away. It isn't that your ideas are poor, it's that no one remembers them long enough to take them seriously. In your personal life, distance grows quietly. Conversations become shallow, not because you lack depth, but because the other person never felt reached. And socially, you may find yourself labeled as nice, but not influential. A good person, but not the one others turn to when clarity matters. Let me tell you something I learned many years ago. This has little to do with your intelligence, your vocabulary, or the sharpness of your mind. The great mistake is believing that people listen because of how brilliantly you speak. In truth, people listen when they feel one thing above all, understood. When a person senses that you truly grasp what they mean, how they feel, and what matters to them, they lean in. Their defenses drop. Their attention sharpens. And when it is your turn to speak, they hear every word. If you have ever wondered why your best thoughts go unnoticed while others command the room with ease, stay with me. In this lesson, I will show you the number one communication skill that makes people listen naturally, without force, without performance, without needing to out-talk anyone. And I will teach you how to practice it in every conversation so that people remember your words, value your presence, and seek your opinion not because you speak louder, but because you connect deeper. I came to believe that the most powerful communication skill on earth is not speaking clearly, but making others feel deeply understood. I spent many years teaching people how to speak, how to stand, how to use their voice, how to organize their thoughts. All of that is useful. But as I watched people in real life, I noticed something curious. Some men and women with very simple speech had tremendous influence, while others with polished language were easily forgotten. The difference was not in their grammar. It was in their ability to make people feel, this person really understands me. There is a simple law of human nature behind this. We are drawn to those who get us. We listen to people who make room for our thoughts before they rush in with their own. We may admire a brilliant talker for a moment, but we return again and again to the person in whose presence we feel truly seen. People do not remember what you said first. They remember how well you captured what they were trying to say. Think about your own experience. When someone finishes your sentence in a way that matches exactly how you feel, something warms inside you. When a friend says, so what really hurt you was not the words, but the fact that he didn't stand up for you, you feel a small shock of recognition. Yes, that's it. At that moment, your heart opens. When they speak after that, you listen. I call this skill empathetic listening, reflective listening, or simply the art of understanding first. Whatever name you prefer, the essence is the same. It is the habit of listening so carefully that you can say the other person's thoughts and feelings back to them better than they can. Not to show off, but to let them know, I am with you, I hear you, you make sense to me. Let me give you a practical example from the workplace. An employee comes to his boss, upset about a new project timeline. He says, "This deadline is impossible. This whole thing is unfair." A common response would be, "We don't have a choice. You'll just have to manage," or "It's not that bad." You're overreacting. The boss may be trying to calm him, but the employee feels brushed aside. He does not feel heard, so he does not listen. Now imagine a different response. The boss leans back for a moment and says, "So, if I'm hearing you right, you're not against the project itself, you're worried about the deadline and what it will do to the quality of your work and your stress level. Is that it?" The employee nods and says, "Exactly." In that moment, something important has happened. The boss has not agreed, but he has proved that he understands. The employee's mind relaxes, his defensiveness drops, and now he is ready to consider solutions. The boss can then say, "All right, let's see what can be adjusted," or "We may not be able to change the deadline, but perhaps we can change the way we approach it." Because the employee felt understood first, he is now willing to listen. Consider another example with a friend. She says, "I'm exhausted. Work is crazy. I just feel done with everything." You could answer, "You should sleep more." Or, "Everyone is busy, and watch her close up." Or you could listen a little deeper and say, "It sounds like you're not just tired, you feel unappreciated. Like no matter how much you give, it's never enough. Is that how it feels?" Often, her eyes will widen. "Yes," she will say, "that's exactly it." And then she will tell you more. You have earned the right to speak into her situation because you first proved that you understood it. This is the core of the skill. You aim not merely to wait for your turn to talk, but to reflect back the heart of what you hear. You listen for the facts, what happened. You listen for the feelings, how it affected them. Then you gently mirror both. So you're saying, and that makes you feel. When you do this sincerely, people feel a deep relief. Very few have ever been heard that way. From the day I discovered this, I stopped trying to impress people with my speeches and started trying to understand them with my ears. To my surprise, they began listening to me far more. When a man feels that you have understood his mind, he will lend you his attention. When a woman feels that you have understood her heart, she will lend you her trust. And once you have both attention and trust, your words begin to carry real weight. In my early years, I put almost all my attention on speaking well. I studied how to stand, how to project my voice, how to choose the right words. I believed, as most people do, that influence came from what came out of my mouth. But as time went on and I watched thousands of men and women in conversation, I began to notice something humbling. The people who had the deepest impact were often not the best speakers in the room. They were the best listeners. Again and again, I saw the same pattern. The person who listened with real interest, who drew others out, who understood before they spoke, that person slowly became the most respected and the most persuasive. People would say, "I don't know what it is about him, but I feel I can talk to him." Or, "She always seems to know what I really mean." Once they felt that, they listened to that person's words with far greater attention. This required a complete inner shift from me. For years, my mind had been filled with questions like, how do I sound? What should I say next? Do I look confident? Perhaps those questions sound familiar to you. They make you self-conscious. They pull your focus inward, away from the person in front of you. You hear their words, but only as a pause before your next line. To develop the skill of making people feel understood, I had to replace those inner questions with new ones. Instead of, how do I sound? I began to ask, what is this person really trying to tell me? Instead of, what should I say next? I asked, what matters most to them right now? Those questions turned my attention outward. Conversations stopped being a performance and began to be an exploration. To make this practical, I began to follow a few simple inner rules. Rule number 1, slow your urge to reply. Most of us feel a strong impulse to respond the moment the other person pauses. We are eager to tell our story, share our opinion, or fix their problem. The moment we feel that urge, we stop listening. If you can learn to wait just a little longer to let them finish, to let a second or two of silence pass, you give yourself room to truly hear them. You also give them room to add the thing they were almost afraid to say. Rule number 2, listen for feelings as well as facts. Facts are important, of course. What happened, who said what decision was made. But beneath the facts are feelings, worry, disappointment, fear, pride, frustration, hope. When you listen only to the facts, people feel that you have understood the surface of their story but missed its heart. When you listen for both, you begin to hear the real message. Ask yourself quietly, how is this making them feel? And you will often hear a different story. Rule number 3, assume there is something sensible in what they say, even if you disagree. When you believe this is nonsense, you stop listening. Your mind closes and your face and tone follow. But if you assume there is a reason this makes sense to them, let me find it, you stay curious. You may still disagree in the end, but you will understand why they think as they do. That understanding is what allows you to speak in a way they can receive. Let me show you how this inner shift works in everyday life. A colleague comes to you and complains, this company doesn't care about us. Everything is a mess. Your first thought might be, he's exaggerating, or he's always negative. If you stay with that thought, you will listen only enough to confirm your judgment. Your face will show impatience, and the conversation will go nowhere. Try another inner question. What is he really worried about? As you listen, you may hear that his real fear is not the company, but that his work is invisible, or that constant changes are making him feel insecure about his future. Now, when you reflect back, you can say, it sounds like what really bothers you is feeling like your effort doesn't count, not just the new policy. He will likely say, yes, that's it. You have moved from dismissing him to understanding him. Or imagine your partner tells you the same story you've heard before about something that happened at work or a hurt from the past. You think, here we go again, and your attention slips away. But stop and ask, why is this so important to them? Perhaps you realize this event touches an old wound, or a deep value of fairness, or a fear of being overlooked. You might then say, you keep coming back to this because it really made you feel invisible, didn't it? That single sentence can turn a tired repetition into a moment of real connection. Psychologically, something very simple is happening in all these cases. When you focus on how you sound, your body tightens, your face is more rigid, your eyes less gentle, your tone slightly strained. People sense that you are performing, not meeting them. When you shift to understanding, when your inner question is, what are they really trying to say, your features soften without effort. Your body leans in, your eyes are more attentive, and your voice becomes warmer. People feel this. They feel safer. And when people feel safe, they open up. Only then are they truly ready to listen to you in return. So I would like to give you a small challenge. For the next 24 hours, in every conversation you have, at work, at home, with friends, pause at least once and ask yourself quietly, what is this person really trying to say? What matters most to them right now? Do not say it out loud. Simply let that question guide your listening. You will be surprised how differently you begin to hear people and how differently they begin to respond to you. Now, let us turn this big idea into something you can actually do in the next 10 or 20 seconds of any conversation. You do not need a degree in psychology to make people feel understood. You simply need a small ritual, a habit you can repeat until it becomes second nature. I like to teach it in 3 simple steps. Listen without interrupting for a short moment. Reflect back what you heard. Ask a clarifying question. That is all. Simple, but not easy, because it requires you to hold your tongue just a little longer than usual. First, listen without interrupting. This does not mean you must sit in silence for an hour. It may be only 30 seconds. The key is that for that brief time, you are not planning your reply. You are not polishing your next sentence. You are giving your mind permission to receive instead of broadcast. You watch their face, you notice their tone, and you listen for both facts and feelings. Second, reflect back what you heard. This is the heart of the skill. You take what they have said, you digest it, and then you offer it back in your own words, not to impress them, but to show that you have truly heard. Phrases like these are very useful. If I understand you correctly, you're saying, "So what worries you most is," it sounds like you feel when you speak this way. You are holding up a mirror to their mind and heart. They can look into it and say, "Yes, that's me," or "Not quite. Here's what I really mean." Third, ask a clarifying question. This is how you prove that your goal is understanding, not winning. After you reflect back, you simply ask, "Did I get that right? Is that what you meant? What matters most to you in this?" These questions give the other person permission to correct you and to go deeper. They also tell them, silently, your thoughts are worth getting right. Let us see how this works in everyday situations. At work, a teammate says, "I can't keep doing this. The workload is too much." You could answer, "We're all busy," and watch him shut down. Or you could use the 3 steps. You let him finish his sentence. Then you say, "If I understand you correctly, it's not the work itself, it's the constant last-minute changes that frustrate you. So you can't plan your time. Is that it?" He may sigh with relief and say, "Exactly." In less than 20 seconds, he feels understood. Now, if you need to discuss solutions or even explain limits, he will listen, because you began by listening to him. At home, your partner says, "You never pay attention." Those words sting, and your first impulse may be to defend yourself. "That's not true." Or, "What about all the times I do listen?" That will only push you further apart. Try the ritual instead. Let the complaint finish. Then say, "It sounds like it feels to you that I'm here in body, but not really here with you. Is that what you mean?" Often you will see their eyes soften. Yes, they might say, "That's it." You have moved the conversation from accusation to explanation. Now you can talk about what might help them feel more present with you. With friends, the same pattern applies. A friend says, "I'm just annoyed." It's fine. You hear in their voice that it isn't fine at all. You pause, reflect, and say, "You sound disappointed, not just annoyed." Is that fair to say? Sometimes they will answer, "Yes, I really hoped this would turn out differently." A door you might have missed is now open. It is important to see the difference between fake listening and real understanding. Fake listening nods while the mind races ahead to your own story. It waits impatiently for a gap to jump into. You might say, "I know exactly how you feel," and then launch into a tale about yourself. The other person walks away feeling more alone than before. Real understanding does something else. It pauses. It summarizes. It checks. It does not rush to say, "Me too." It says instead, "Let me see if I've really heard you." The words are not complicated, but the effect is profound. You do not have to use this ritual on every sentence. That would feel strange and mechanical. Think of it as a tool you bring out at key moments, when someone is upset, when a topic really matters to them, when you sense a misunderstanding, or when you want to build deeper trust. A single, well-timed reflection, "So what hurts most is," can change the course of an entire conversation. If you will practice these 3 steps, listen without interrupting, reflect back, and ask a clarifying question, you will discover that you can make people feel understood in 10 or 20 seconds. And once they feel understood, something remarkable happens. They begin to listen to you. So far, we have looked at this skill in ordinary moments. But its true power appears when the conversation is difficult, when there is sharp disagreement, strong emotion, or many voices competing at once. Most people abandon good habits under pressure. If you can keep them, you will stand out immediately. Scenario 1. When you strongly disagree, imagine someone says something you deeply oppose, about work, about values, about a decision that affects you. Your first impulse may be to say, "That's wrong," or "You don't understand." The moment you do, the other person's mind shuts its doors. You are no longer 2 people exploring an issue. You are 2 armies defending their territory. Try a different approach. Make your first step not to attack, but to reflect their view as fairly as you can. You might say, "So you feel that we should move ahead quickly because waiting will cost us opportunities, and you're worried that hesitation will put us behind. Is that right?" Or so. If I understand you, you believe this choice is unfair because you've worked hard and you're afraid it won't be recognized. That's what you're feeling? You have not agreed. You have simply shown that you heard them accurately. Then, and only then, you add, "May I tell you how I see it?" Very few people will refuse that invitation. Why? Because you have honored their point of view before presenting your own. You have proved that you are not trying to twist their words. Psychologically, this opens a door. When people feel heard in a disagreement, they are far more willing to truly consider your side, even if they never say so out loud. Scenario 2, when emotions explode. Now think of a moment when someone is very upset, angry, frustrated, or in tears. Most of us feel uncomfortable in the presence of strong emotion. We want it to go away quickly. So we say things like, "Calm down," "You're overreacting," or "It's not that bad." We intend to comfort, but we accidentally dismiss. The other person feels smaller, not safer. In these moments, the skill we are learning becomes even more valuable. Instead of telling them how to feel, you simply name what you see. "You're really upset about this. This hurt you more than I realized. You sound overwhelmed by everything that's happened. You do not have to be perfect. You just have to be honest and kind." Often, when you reflect someone's feeling in this way, you will notice a change. Their breathing slows. Their shoulders drop. Sometimes they sigh and say, "Yes, finally someone gets it." Once the emotion has been acknowledged, you can move to facts and solutions. But if you skip that first step, every suggestion you make will feel to them like another way of saying, "You shouldn't feel what you feel." And no one listens well when they feel judged for their feelings. Scenario 3, when everyone is talking at once. Now let us go to a group setting. A meeting, a family discussion, a committee at work. Several people are speaking, often over each other. Ideas are flying, but little is being decided. In such moments, the room quietly longs for one thing: clarity. Here, you can use the same skill on a larger scale. You become the summarizer. You listen, you gather the threads, and then you say something like, "Let me see if I can summarize what we've said. John is concerned about the cost. Lisa is focused on the deadline. Maria wants to protect the quality of the work. Is that right for each of you? You are not taking sides. You are organizing the conversation. You are making sure each person feels represented fairly. When they nod and say, 'Yes, that's what I meant,' something remarkable happens. Their tension drops and their eyes turn to you. You have become, in that moment, the person who brings order out of confusion. From that point on, when you add, 'Given all that, may I suggest a way forward?' people are ready to hear you. Not because you demanded attention, but because you earned it by listening first. In all these advanced situations, sharp disagreement, emotional outburst, noisy group, the principle is the same. Understanding first does not mean you have no opinion. It means you secure your right to express it by proving that you have heard and respected others. From a psychological standpoint, this is simple. When a person feels unheard, their mind is on defense. When a person feels understood, their mind can explore. We like to imagine that we are persuaded by logic alone, but in truth, we are moved by those who make us feel safe enough to listen. In the toughest moments, the person who understands first earns the right to speak next. Let us bring everything we have learned to a clear, simple point. The number one communication skill is not dazzling speech or perfect arguments. It is the ability to make others feel deeply understood. When people feel understood in your presence, they lean in. They remember what you say. They seek your opinion. Not because you forced them to listen, but because they want to. You now have a few practical tools to do this. An inner question. What are they really trying to say? What matters most to them right now? A small outer ritual. Listen without interrupting, reflect back what you heard, and ask a clarifying question. These are not complicated techniques. They are simple acts of respect. You may have seen yourself as someone others talk over, someone whose ideas are overlooked, someone who leaves conversations thinking, "Why does no one really hear me?" You do not have to stay that person. You can become the one people turn to when they need to think clearly and feel understood, because that is exactly what you offer them when they speak to you. If you want a new label for yourself, let it be this: I am someone people listen to because I listen deeply to them. Carry that thought with you. Let it shape the way you enter every conversation. Your goal is no longer to shine the brightest light on yourself, but to light up the person in front of you so clearly that they see themselves. When you do that, influence follows almost naturally. To help you fix this in your mind, I would like you to repeat a few simple affirmations quietly to yourself, if you wish. People listen to me because I make them feel understood. I listen first. That is why my words matter. The more I understand others, the more influence I earn. These are not empty phrases. They describe a way of being you can practice every day. The more you act in line with them, the more true they will become. Now, let us make this very practical. In your next conversation today, no matter how small, choose one moment to reflect back what the other person said in a single, clear sentence. Something like, "So what you're really saying is," or "It sounds like what matters most to you is." Then simply ask, "Did I get that right?" Notice how they respond. And in your next disagreement, before you state your own view, try understanding first. Summarize their position fairly, name their concern or feeling, and then ask, "May I tell you how I see it?" You may find that the argument softens into a discussion, and that your words carry more weight than they did when you rushed to defend yourself. If you need to hear these ideas again, come back to this message. The skill of making people feel understood is like any other. It grows with repetition and conscious practice. Before you go, I would truly like to know more about you. Where are you watching from? How old are you? And in which area of your life do you most want to improve your communication work, relationships, friendships, or family? Share it in the comments. Your story matters, and saying it out loud is already a step toward deeper understanding. And if you want to keep learning how to communicate in ways that make people respect you, trust you, and listen when you speak, make sure to subscribe. We have much more to explore together,